Today what I'm going to be doing is quite simply going through a couple of bits from this book, which is Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, Sketchy, Doubtful, Incomplete Jottings. And first of all, I like the title because I like the idea that this is a man who wasn't very certain of himself, and that resonates with me a lot as another man who's not very certain with himself. And what I've done is I've just folded the page over where I have found things that I like, and I've read through this multiple times. It's a really valuable little book. There are lots of little great meditations in there, and it's funny. I'm not going to put it too close to the camera because somehow it's ended up with like coffee stains on it or something. Something's been spilt on it, which means that's a good sign in terms of how much I've read it. So we'll turn to the first dog ear, and the first page that I've dog eared, so there's actually, I'll show you the book. This is from the Penguin Black Books collection, little black books, which when they first came out, they were 80p, and when they first came out, I intended to collect them all, and it didn't happen in the end. I think just because of space, and 80p adds up when I think there were 80 of them, so 80 times 80 is, you do the math. And let's just zoom in on the first thing that I turned over. There's multiple things on the page, so I've actually not underlined the specific one I was thinking of, so I might end up picking something different and talking about that, but that's cool. But I know on this one it was that man never understands how anthropomorphic he is. So I'm just going to Google anthropomorphic because I do know what it means 90% of the way, but I don't want to sound like an idiot. Anthropomorphism, the attribution of human character. Should I quit? Should I quit there? No, I'm joking. The attribution of human characteristics or behaviour to a god, animal, or object. Man never understands how anthropomorphic he is. You know what? When I read this, even though I didn't think it through properly, so I'm actually gonna skip that like an idiot, because when I read it, I read it as man never understanding how similar to man he was, when in reality it is that man never understands to what extent he attributes human characteristics to everything. And I don't have as much to say about that as I did about the other thing. Great start to the video. Let's move on. So the next dog-eared page here. And how can we learn self-knowledge? Never by taking thought, but rather by action. Try to do your duty, and soon you'll discover what you are like. And obviously I've noted this one down because probably more now on the cusp of 30. It's taken me a long time to learn this, although maybe it took me a short time, maybe half of my 20s, to learn that a lot of the things that you need to learn come through action, and you never really know what something is like until you do it. And you can read and you can think as much as you like, but it does not give you an accurate perception of reality and what reality is like. And I learnt that in the first 5 years. Probably by the end of the 5 years I had it solidified as a lesson that I'd learned. It's taken me probably until now to actually act upon it, because knowing that action is the greatest means of learning is one thing, and having the courage and being able to it's not just courage, but it's also just, I guess, following through with your intentions, being disciplined enough to do so. They're two different things, and I completely agree with that. I'll repeat it. How can we learn self-knowledge? Never by taking thought, but rather by action. So he's specifically talking about self-knowledge. How do we learn about ourselves? And it's true, because you're not going to learn about yourself until you put yourself in many different situations, especially situations which you're not necessarily at home in, where you're uncomfortable. Then you find out who you really are and what you're capable of, and often you'll be pleasantly surprised. So thank you, Mr. Goethe, for that. Next page. Okay. This one is just that you already know this, you'll have heard this everywhere, but I'll repeat it because it's interesting hearing it in different words. Tell me with whom you consort, and I will tell you who you are. If I know how you spend your time, then I know what might become of you. So that's the same thing that you see repeated, and I'm not sure what we go for with the original attribution, but you know what, I don't hear people regularly attribute it to Goethe, and he very likely came before the people that I do hear people attribute the quote to, which is interesting. But yeah, that's the whole Naval calls it the 5 chimps theory. Other people have called it, I think Jim Rohn has talked about it, and the idea is that who you surround yourself with have a massive effect on what will happen with your life, and a lot of the time the people that are around you could bring you down to their level, or if they are above you, then they'll bring you up to their level. And there's another quote, and I'm not sure who it's by, and it is something along the lines of, if you find yourself to be the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I love that. And guess what? I often feel like the dumbest person in the room. I don't, you know what? More so in a weird way, in an online sense. So when I'm talking about these things, or on Twitter, for example, I feel like the dumbest guy there. So a lot of the tweets that I read, I kind of think if I replied to this tweet, or if I tried to repeat that idea, then I would seem like an idiot because I don't understand it properly. I don't know if that's very clear how I've said that, but yeah, I often do feel like the dumbest person in the room, so that's a good sign. Next one up is, if I'm to listen to someone else's opinion, it must be put in a positive way. I have enough problematic speculations in my own head. And I'm going to twist this one a bit and use it in a sense that it probably wasn't necessarily meant for. But you can use this as something to guide you with the type of work you might want to create. Because even though there is a success that is possible through critical work, i.e. creating YouTube videos, criticizing other people, dunking on other people, and Twitter, you can get a lot of followers from dunking on other people. I think that you will have a more sustained success and not end up being dunked on as much yourself if you do the opposite of that. And Visa, who I love on Twitter, Visa Virasamy, at some point I won't even need to say his full name because I've mentioned him that much. He talks about pointing and orienting yourself. Yeah, we can use that. Orienting yourself in the direction of the things that you enjoy and the things that you think are great, and talking about them and going towards them. But yeah, talking about them in public, on social media, with other people, rather than talking about the things that you don't like. And I really agree with this. I think I tweeted something a while ago, and not that I'm a big tweeter, but I tweeted, point at what you love, and who you love will follow. What the hell was that? What does that even mean? I can't remember what the tweet was, but point at what you love. And that's a big thing for me, is I would much rather recommend stuff to you than say that was crap, because I don't see the value in it. I genuinely don't. Especially because I think people, and I've mentioned this before, people miss out on art that doesn't speak to the overall populace, but would speak to them. But they don't watch it because it is generally criticised. But if you follow something that seems interesting to you, you can make your own decision. And I think there's not enough of people making their own decisions with regard to many things. The review culture has a run amok, and we need to put a stop to it now. No, it's great in many ways. It saves us a lot of time with choosing things. But you do also potentially miss out on valuable experiences because you are following the general opinion. I'm going to leave it there today, and obviously I think I need to expose myself to a greater variety of subject matter to stimulate these ideas a little more, and stimulate my wandering into subjects that I'm not necessarily used to, so I am exposed to new ideas and then can mix them with the ones that I already have. Cool. Catch you later, man. Have a good day, evening, morning, life. And that'll be Goodbye.